Hello everybody, my name is Jerome Bordier and I'm French as you can hear. I'm the founder and managing partner of SealWeb, a consulting company dedicated for 13 years to trust services. At SealWeb, we have only one mission, help companies, our customers, to build and run their trust solutions and services. Most of our clients are certified or even qualified for their trust services. We have prepared about 100 trust services these last few years, and that's why we're going to speak today about some new approach to manage trust service compliance. By the way, I'm also General Secretary of the French Trust Service Providers Association, grouping about 30 TSP, Trust Service Provider, for about 10 years. This association is called Club PSCO, PSCO meaning in French TSP, and this association is doing regulatory lobbying to help the French Security Agency, ENISA, the European Security Agency, the European Commission, to produce an adapted regulatory framework consistent with the market needs and with an appropriate security level. As this session is recorded, please feel free to contact me if you have any question or if you want me to explain some of the concepts we will go through in this event. I will be happy to answer you if needed. This speech aims to provide information and best practices to manage the compliance of your trust platform and services. So, I will go through now the presentation itself. As you all probably noticed, the market situation is changing progressively. First, the regulatory framework is inflating day after day. Then, second, threats are scaring corporations and cybersecurity has become a real stake for all. In this context, compliance is no more an option. Claiming that a product or a service is secured is not sufficient enough. To make user confident, to make consumer confident, to make customer confident, the only options now appears to win medals, to go through audit, to go to certification or qualification process. Of course, security target is depending on your business. It's not the same way to get certified or to get qualified if you are a certification authority, a timestamping authority, an e-archiving provider, of course, but the only option is to go through certification. That's why today we will go through two complementary topics and present a new approach for both trust product and trust services compliance. For trust product, the question is, how do you manage to get your product certified to make your customer really confident on the security level achieved? For trust services, the question is slightly different. Of course, you want to make it certified at a cost-effective, with a cost-effective situation. But the question is, how do you optimize your eIDAS qualification process, for example, or your LC certification process, for example, with a minimum time and a minimum of cost? So let's begin by the new way to certify a PKI product through the collaborative protections profile approach. First, as a reminder for many of you, of course, the common criteria is both a standard and a methodology aiming to allow comparability between the results of independent security evaluations. Evaluation assurance level, what we all call EAL, is the scale for rating security of such certified product. That's why security products often claim to be EAL3 or EAL4 or even EAL4 plus for hardware security module, for example, common criteria certified level. To reach this level, a product needs to follow what we call a protection profile. In fact, the protection profile is a statement of security requirements for specific technology. The problem is, historically, governments have published their own protection profile, PP, and vendors needed to comply with each different governmental PP for a given technology. Now, the new way to certify product is to use what we've called CPP, Collaborative Protection Profile. CPP have been created by technical communities made up of common criteria and technology area experts with a sponsorship from 2 or more CCRA nations, with the intention to address the heterogeneity of government-specific protection profile, defining better requirements and a better testing methodology through industry engagement. Apart from this new redaction process, the other distinctive feature of a CPP, Collaborative Protection Profile, is that a CPP does not usually specify an EAL. For PKI specifically, the Collaborative Protection Profile for certification authorities is intended to provide a minimal baseline set of requirements targeting at mitigating well-defined and described threats. But it also contains 78 security requirements and all the elementary assurance required by the EAL1 package level. One only. It also contains a lot of extended components specifically designed to address PKI domain and issues. As I just said, because PP for certification authorities default level is only 1, you could be tempted to conclude that conformance to that CPP only provide a small level of confidence and that threats to security are not viewed as serious. But, actually, and as explained previously, protection profile for CA, the CPP for CA that I spoke about, is in fact containing far more assurance requirements than the sole EAL1 level. These specific requirements make this CPP a very accurate protection profile for the core PKI components of a CA. Moreover, the detailed assurance activities allow the evaluators to consistently perform the required evaluation task in a more efficient way than, for instance, a generic EAL3 evaluation, because the precise instructions and tests are focused on the domain-specific aspects of a PKI and on its particular specific security and crypto functions. In conclusion, we can say that a common criteria evaluation of a PKI software with respect to the protection profile for CA is a very efficient way to obtain a well-founded assurance that the said software actively contributes to the security of a certification authorities. Now, let's talk about compliance for trust services. As a market observation, we see today that we have a multiplication of regulation and standards. We also have a multiplication of requirements in each standard. As an example, HC 319401, Security for Trust Service, contains about 250 requirements. The HC from 319411 standard, targeted for CA, contains more than 500 requirements. And we also see, obviously, that there are some redundancy between standards and requirement. For example, there are some redundancy between ISO 27000 standard and the HC 319401 standard. We therefore all observe that complexity to be compliant is increasing every day. Moreover, we have more and more freedom of possible approaches as requirements become less and less explicit to follow. There is no exhaustive list of evidence to provide to the auditor. There is no way to follow precisely, therefore, a certification or qualification process. Day after day, year after year, it has become a nightmare to prepare the regulatory audit. In fact, today's reality for most trust service providers, for SealWeb customers, is that there is no real capacity to manage compliance. Manage compliance globally, I mean. Each staff involved manage his own checklist, his own to-do list, his own evidence database. There is no real shared vision of responsibilities, and it's quite impossible to assess globally the real level of compliance. Of course, it's done by the CAB every 2 years. But between two audits, how do you know that you are still compliant? How can your customer knows that there are still compliance management behind the scene? However, the needs for today's evaluation are known and clear. First, a TSP needs to define the precise scope of audit. It can be HC standards, it can be ISO standards, it can be SEN standards if we speak about product. The TSP or the provider of product need to organize the most effective plan, defining, for example, a delay to be audited, timeline, defining a team responsible of the audit, and allowing a rigorous analysis and splitting requirement between responsible. TSP also needs to collect all data, compliance data, in real time. The only option in the future is to centrally manage compliance evidence, to allow a real-time monitoring through one shared tool between the auditee and the auditor. The only way to enable a follow-up by the management is to provide dashboards, reporting to enable a control by the management of the level of compliance. Otherwise, it becomes very risky. Compliance officers also needs to be able to convince their management that there are some improvement over time. So they need a solution to compare the situation from one day at audit time, for example, and 1 year after, just to demonstrate that compliance is better managed now than before. They also need to keep all traces, evidence, to prove the work and the good faith of the auditee. At SealWeb, as we did not find the perfect tool to do that, we have decided 2 years ago to develop one and to propose it to our customer during a co-designed period for the new software. After 1 year of workshop and mock-up with our customers, we have decided to launch a new company for the solution that we've called ProCompliance. Very ergonomic, focused on user experience, ProCompliance allows its user to first, of course, visualize the requirements of norms, standards, obligations for which the user must indicate the level of compliance of its organization. It can be standards such as ISO, ETSI, SEN, but it can be as well custom standards imported in the software. Users can group, filter, sort, export, hide, customize their view to globally manipulate these lists of hundreds of requirements according to their own visual habits to optimize their comfort and efficiency. They can also associate with each requirement, individually or by group, a level of conformity, a level of criticality, if applicable, as well as a series of indications making it possible to understand the situation of its organization for the considered requirement. Attached to the compliance statements, they can also upload some evidence, some proof files, to guarantee transparency. ProCompliance has been designed to enable rigorous real-time monitoring for both compliance level analysis and also to manage remediation work for corrective actions if needed. Compliance managers, risk managers, can also use the synthetic dashboards to have a vision, analytical and global, of the work done or still to accomplish. ProCompliant, and we've tested that with many customers, can be adapted to all types of organization and to all types of compliance targets. It has been designed to support the complexity inherent to a multiplication of obligations and to the situation faced by our customers. So it has been created to be first multi-organization. A user can work for one or more clients. Clients could be service, clients could be an enterprise, clients could be, it's the term that we've used to organize the software. So ProCompliant manages authorizations by client, business unit, user of course, and can be configured easily with administration interfaces. ProCompliant is also natively multi-standards. So each, what we've called client, has its own repository of obligations standard to be respected based, as I said already, on public standard or on its own criteria grids. Some of the standards could be custom if needed, meaning you can import your own set of requirements in the software. ProCompliance manages the multiplicity of standards and displays to each user the list of obligations specific to their personal scope of intervention. ProCompliance has been designed to manage certification of trust services. So if you want a demo, if you want some more explanation, please feel free to contact me. I would be happy to explain and to show the software. And I hope this session has been of interest for you. And I hope trust product and services compliance will still increase for better confidence in our more and more digitalized society. Bye-bye.
Great. Jerome, thank you. Unfortunately, Jerome is not going to be able to join us live today for the questions and answers. I've seen in the chat there are some comments. Thomas, we have been, as a vendor, through processes of certification of our products, but I see great applications here for other areas, like within the AI, that you need to certify your service and maybe recertify.
Indeed. I mean, PrimeKey we're exposed to a number of certifications ourselves, the common criteria, ISO 9000, ISO 27000, etc. But many of our customers have a much higher burden of audits and certifications for AI, web trust, etc. So there's a lot of work to be done in order to try to do certifications and audits, say, more enjoyable. Especially a lot of, well, us of course, but our customers have to do it every year or every second year repeatedly. So to make that enjoyable instead of a pain is an excellent initiative.
What struck me, and I think Sini also mentioned, I really loved the approach. You can clearly see that Jerome is an engineer par excellence, but you can see also that they're kind of bringing structure. Instead of sending documents back and forth, there is a tool that helps us handle all kind of issues, assign them. I think it's a wonderful approach. And it kind of, would you say, take the pain out of? I'm not sure if I would go all the way that's going to be enjoyable, but let's put it less painful.
Yeah, and let's hope that then certifications such as common criteria tries to make it easier for us and everyone and not, say, confuse things, as Jerome so nicely put it in the beginning of the presentation, with the differences between different types of certification and protection profiles, etc. There's a lot to be said.
I'd be guessing also, having gone ourselves through the pains of certifications, when you have a structured way, you also may have a little bit more predictability how the process is going to go about, or if you need to do recertification or ask the auditor in maybe some different context to visit you again, you already can kind of inherit a lot of things, a lot of claims that you may have had from the previous version of your product.
Especially when you have to or want to work remotely. Sure, as a team and with the auditors and certification labs, etc. It definitely helps to have structured tools and approach to it when you cannot rely on, say, personal meetings all the time.
Yeah. So again, you can post the questions maybe in the chat. We will try to address all of the questions that you have for us and pass it over to Jerome. You can also send direct message to Jerome and ask him something.